Nobody told me that my spiritual awakening was going to feel like everything was falling apart before anything started making sense. The version I'd seen portrayed was peaceful, luminous, quietly transformative, and this was not my experience. My experience was loud, disorienting, physical, and sometimes genuinely terrifying. If that's closer to what yours looks like, then this video is for you. My awakening started with a crack, and not a gentle opening, but a crack wide open. Things I thought were stable stopped being so. Relationships that I felt were solid started feeling wrong. My sensitivity, which was already high, went and shot straight up through the ceiling. I couldn't filter the way I used to. Everything came in louder and more intense, and I had absolutely no idea why. I spent a very long time thinking that something was wrong with me before I understood what was actually happening. And the thing that changed everything wasn't the awakening itself. It was finally having a framework for it. Understanding that what I was going through had a name, had stages, and had a way through it. And that's what I want to give you today. These awakenings tend to hit empaths a little bit differently than most, because you're already more permeable. Your field is already more open to energetic input than most people's. So when your awakening begins, when your consciousness starts to expand, when old layers of your life, of yourself, start to dissolve, you feel it at a different magnitude. The good news is that empaths often move through the awakenings faster than people with less sensitivity. The more difficult news is that the intensity is higher, the symptoms are louder, and the disorientation feels more complete. I want to talk about some of the stages of the awakening. So one of the stages is called the crack, which I just spoke about. Something happens. Sometimes it's a single event, sometimes a gradual accumulation, and it breaks open the container that your life has been living in. This can feel like loss, crisis, or a dissolution. And it is, in a way. The old self is starting to come apart. There's another stage where you feel that sensitivity spike. Your empath abilities amplify dramatically. Things you could filter before become much harder to filter. You feel more, absorb more, know things you didn't used to know. And this is your gifts coming online. But without a framework, it can feel like you're losing your mind. There's another stage that has a purging process. Old emotions, memories, and wounds come up that need to be cleared. Things you thought you'd process will return. Relationships are going to shift or end. Your life starts to reorganize around who you're becoming rather than who you were. And this stage is often the hardest and the most necessary. There's another stage where you have this wide open, this feels like this huge opening or expansion. And the intensity starts to lift. Clarity arrives, and the sensitivity that was overwhelming before becomes a tool. You start to feel genuinely, sustainably, more like yourself than you ever have. Not the self that you were performing, but the real you. And there's another stage where there's an integration, where you live from this new frequency. You build a life that matches who you've become, continuing to grow, because awakening isn't a destination, it's a direction. Most people think the hardest part of a spiritual awakening is the physical symptoms or the emotional intensity. And those are difficult sometimes. But in my experience working with empaths going through this, the hardest part is the isolation. Doing it without anyone who understands what's going on. Feeling like something significant is occurring and having no one to share it with who can actually hold that space for you. Going to the people in your life and watching them not understand, or worse, start to worry about you in a way that makes you feel even more alone. Even one person who truly gets it can change the entire experience. Whether that's a guide, a community, a therapist who understands the spiritual dimension alongside the psychological one, doesn't matter. You are not meant to walk this alone. Your sensitivity does not go away, but your relationship to it transforms. What was overwhelming becomes information. What was a burden becomes a gift you understand how to carry. The same capacity that made you absorb everything around you becomes the capacity to feel deeply, connect genuinely, and perceive things that most people cannot. You become, in the language that I use with my clients, a conscious empath rather than an unconscious one. You still feel everything. You just know what to do with it now. If you're somewhere in the middle of what I just described and you need a map, I have built the Awakening Roadmap specifically for this. It's a 9-part self-paced course that walks through all 7 stages of the spiritual awakening. What's happening during each stage, why, and what to actually do at each point. It's only $49. You work at your own pace, and it includes practical steps and tools that you can use to help you work through the hardest moments. It's the map that I wish I had. I'll include the link in the description. If this video resonated for you, please subscribe. If you know someone who needs to hear this, please share. You are not alone in this. Thank you so much for listening. I genuinely appreciate every single one of you. And I'll see you in the next video.